Welcome to the Seas United slideshow to increase positional awareness in the 11v11 game. This slideshow will not only be part of player evaluations for 13-year-old players and older, as on day 2 of tryouts they will try out for a specific position, but it will improve our team's effectiveness as our players will have a greater understanding of each player's role both in attack and defense. In this slideshow we'll be discussing the role of a striker. Now in simplest terms, the role of a striker is to score goals. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish today. Now, unfortunately, it's not as simple as telling your striker, go score goals. So what we're looking for is to accomplish this. To score goals, we must be able to identify attacking space. When attacking space is not available, can we create attacking space? When I can't score, can I create opportunities for others? When it's not time to attack, can we support our team in possession? And finally, can we recognize attacking opportunities and be ready to capitalize? So one of the things we're going to talk about today is attacking space. When I say attacking space, what we're talking about is areas on the field where if we can get one of our players with the ball, they have a very good chance of scoring. Now obviously one of the best attacking space areas is the area back behind the defense. So if we can get one of our players with the ball behind the opposing defense, we have a very good chance of scoring. Short of that, when that area is not available, and an area that forwards can use a lot is the space in between the midfield and the defense. So if we can get the ball in between the two lines, that gives us a chance now to create that finishing pass, that finishing touch, to create that goal scoring opportunity. Now one of the things that we try to do in possession is we try to create a numbers up situation. So if we have 3 attackers against 2 defenders, we should be able to play keep away and control that area. The same principle holds true when we are attacking. So when we're looking for that finishing pass, can we get a numbers up situation? Now when you look at a lot of our teams that are playing 2 forwards up high, you'll see what 9 and 10 are doing here a lot. You have 2 forwards, we both push up high, they stand side by side. The problem with this is what we've actually created is 2 1v2 situations. If the defense is decent, and if they're doing their job, we should not have much success playing 1v2. So we want to try to create a situation where we have numbers up. Now obviously this is very difficult when we're playing in a 2v4. Now one way to do this is if we have our forwards come more central. Now we create a 2v2 in the center of the field. Now a 2v2 isn't necessarily in our favor, but it's not against us either. And if we play into this enough times, we will generate goals. We don't have to win every time. We just have to get a few through so we can create some opportunities. Now when you look at this picture right here, how can the defense counteract that? Well, one thing they can do is they can drop their midfield back in to help give support, which gives us more room to possess in the midfield. They can also tuck in the outside defenders. Now this is a 2v4, which again gets kind of difficult for our forwards. But what that does do is if we're able to draw in those defenders, that opens up outside lanes for attack, whether that is outside midfielders, overlapping backs. So you'll see here by the forwards movement, they have adjusted they've made the defense adjust. They've created other spaces that we can attack to. So we'll be talking a lot about today is how can the forwards create space for themselves, but also how can they create space for other players on the team. Now what you'll see a lot too is with the 2 forwards side by side there. We've taken out some players to simplify it here. Again, the area that we're looking to see can we exploit is that area back behind the defensive line. That's the best place to hit. Now in some cases that can be very difficult to hit, especially if you look at the distance we are from goal here. If we can have one of our forwards check higher, this gives the defense another difficult decision to make. If they leave that forward sitting there alone, he's in a pocket. He can receive in between that midfield and defensive line. So there's benefit there. If they want to shut that down by bringing in a defender, which takes away that opportunity, what we've now done is that block behind, that area behind the defense, we've expanded. Because now we have additional areas that we can play into. Now looking at this picture right here, that area is not going to benefit us much. Because obviously number 4 there is going to prevent or at least make difficult any passage in that area. Now, if we were to take this ball, say, and bring it in from the right-hand side, if we paint the same picture, 10 checking in the middle and 4 following, now we're in a position where we can attack and make great use of that space right there. So this is an example of where movement off the ball, in this case 10 is not even trying to necessarily receive the ball, but simply by moving and unsettling that back line, we can create space and attacking opportunities. So one thing we want to see is when the ball is played into forward, essentially at that moment, if they play by themselves, it's a 1v4. And a 1v4, of course, is not in our favor. So we want them to make sure they are utilizing their other forward, the two of them working together to try to break down the defense, at least give them some shot there. So at a minimum, we want the two forwards working together to try to create attacking opportunities. Potentially even we can go a step further and involve a center midfielder in attack, a outside mid, overlapping back. But we're going to try to use the numbers we have available to us to break down that back four. Now once the ball is received, looking at this moment, what options do we have to create? Now again, what we're looking to do is see, can we get the ball played in back behind the defense? Now as we start this combination attack, and this is one of the simplest forms of combination attack, 9 slides the ball to 10. Now looking at this, 10 has the opportunity to play a ball right in this gap. Now if we play it at the keeper, of course they're going to suck up things in here, but if we can play the ball across, and 9 can make a run onto it. So a very simple combination play is simply a give and go. Pass and make the run. Now if we have the high-low striker, like we talked about before, this creates even more opportunities for us. As 9 receives this, they can turn up and face goal. If they're left alone, of course, there's all kinds of opportunities. They can take a shot from there. They can dribble to attack. If 4 steps, we can do the exact same thing we did before, but where you looked and said, that's a little tough. Maybe 4 recovers. Maybe, it was tough to get through that flat line. Now we have lots of space to run in behind and attack that ball. Another option, rather than passing to 10 and trying to get the ball back to 9, is we can use opportunities like this with the high-low striker to create isolation. So rather than giving the ball to 10, if 10 makes a run across the box, as 2 tracks with 10 to cover them. If 2 doesn't, we'll slip the ball in and 10 can go do the celebration and the airplanes and things. If 2 tracks, we now have a lot of space in here where 9 can take on 4 and go to goal. So we can use, with the 2 forwards, the off-the-ball forward, their movement can create space for the player on the ball to dribble into. Another option might be is instead of dribbling past 4, if 10 makes a similar run, we can have another player off the ball, in this case 11, who can make a run into that space. So what we've seen in both these examples is the forwards are typically in very vital space. These are areas that are very good for attacking. And by leaving that space and taking a defender with them, they can open that up for someone else to use. Now another key thing for a forward is that they are ready to receive. Now that sounds very simple. Every player should always be on their toes, ready to receive. But what we're also talking about here is anticipating where they want the ball. Looking with this ball wide on 7, obviously 10 can get their ball to their feet. But take a look at what can 9 do. 9 can receive the ball in that little pocket up in front of the line. Again, now we're looking at the potential for 4 stepping forward and other things opening with that pressure. There's also the space, again, back behind the defense. Now playing between 2 and 4 would play the ball right in the keeper's hands. But can we play to the corner where 9 can then run and go? So what we want the forwards looking at, they need to recognize those opportunities. Now obviously everyone recognizes that one, or everyone should. That's a very easy one. Everybody understands the run to goal. But do we see the value in space in that? Can we get the forwards to recognize the attacking opportunities and then make the run when the ball comes? Another important thing for strikers is when we are in on defense, so when the other team has possession, we want them ready for a counterattack. So when we're defending, one of the problems we have is at that moment that we win the ball, we are in a defensive shape. We are set up to deny opportunities of the opposition, not to possess and hold on the balls ourselves. So frequently, teams will struggle immediately after gaining possession. Now at the same time, the opposing team is set up to attack. They're set up to take advantage of attacking space. They're not set up to defend. So if we are on our toes and we're paying attention, at that moment we win possession is a great time to initiate a quick attack. So we want our forwards to be prepared that when we are defending for that moment when we win possession. Now looking at the picture here, obviously that space around 9 is a great opportunity. And if once that ball is won, they can play into 9 and we can start going. Even better would be, of course, if we can get it back behind both lines. Now in this case it's possible, but if 9 were to make a run into space, drawing 4 farther in, that makes that ball to 10 much easier to deliver. So again, this is that number 9 here being on his toes and saying, if I can check in, I can create that space for the counter. So as soon as that ball is won, if 9 makes that run, we're creating more space. There's lots of different ways we can do this, of course, but we want to make sure that our forwards are always looking at the options available to them to counter. Now, while we've been talking a lot about attacking, creating opportunities going forward, not every moment in a game is an attacking opportunity. There will be times where you take a look at the picture here, the defense is well organized. This is not the time. If we throw the ball into 9 and 10, odds are they're going to lose possession and we're on defense. So this is not the moment to attack yet. And when we as a team don't have attacking opportunities, what we want them to do is possess. We want them to move the ball around. They want you to hold on to it and see if we can move the defense and make them react, and in the process, create some space. Now, when we are in possession, forwards can also help in this regard. So looking at number 10 here, obviously they are direct support for 7, 6, and 8. While maybe not as likely, there's no reason that they can't receive a ball from 3 or 5, and of course 2 or 4 or 11 or anyone else. And of course the same thing holds true for 9, where they can help out with several players. So if we see that attacking opportunity, of course, we want our forwards to try to exploit that. But in the absence of attacking opportunity, our forwards can check in and help us retain possession while we try to unsettle and create gaps in the defense. So a few final thoughts. The ultimate role of a striker at CC United in attack is to score goals, either score goals themselves or to create opportunities for their team to score goals. Now the way we do that is by identifying and taking advantage of attacking space and opportunities. Now in some cases that's as simple as just seeing the space that the other team has gifted us and taking advantage of it. In other cases the striker will have to create space for themselves, to lose the defender and to give them an opportunity to attack, or to vacate space to open it up for other teammates to get into and create opportunities. We've talked about the usefulness of numbers up in possession. If we're trying to play keep away and hold on to the ball, it's a lot easier 3v2, 4v2 than it is 2v2. So we try to create numbers up. Now around the goal, the 3v2, 4v2 situation is a whole lot less likely. But can we identify and create a 2v2 or a 2v3 instead of a 1v2, 1v3? Can we create the best numbers possible around the goal area? And like we just said, obviously the 1v2s, 1v3s are not ideal. So we want to see our forwards involving others, at the very least the other forward, but even other players in attack. So can we combine? When a forward receives the ball, instead of simply turning and hoping they can win 1v3, can they involve others in the attack? And can 2 or 3 of our players quickly break down the defense to create a scoring opportunity? Another thing we talked about was creating that 1v1 isolation. So when you have that 2v2, 2v3, an off the ball run can create the opportunity for space for the player on the ball to move into 1v1 against their defender. We can also use a similar tactic, of course, to create space to create a 1v1 for another player. So if we can have an outside mid making the diagonal run, I can play the ball in and let them go to goal. We want our forwards to be ready to receive. And again, this is more than just technically ready to receive the ball. We want them to know where they want it. We want them to put themselves in a position where they can receive the ball where they want it. If they want it back on a diagonal pass behind the defensive line, they have stepped away, checked away to create that space, and are ready to run onto it when the ball is played. If the ball is in our defensive third, and we're looking for the big ball over the top because their defense is pushed up, I want that forward up top ready for that, seeing that moment, and as soon as that ball is kicked, they're taking off and making the run. We want them ready to counterattack. So what that means is when we are on defense, forwards are constantly looking at, if we win the ball back now, how am I going to score? How is our team going to score? And as the situation changes and the ball switches to the other side of the field, they say, okay, now how am I going to score? Now how am I going to create? And at the moment we win possession, the forwards go to work to start creating that counterattacking opportunity. And finally, in those circumstances where it's not time to attack, the other defense is well set up, they've got us shut down, we really don't have an attacking option right now, can the forwards help in possession? The forwards' job is primarily attacking, but not exclusively. So can they take the opportunities where the team's in possession to help us hold on to the ball?